Got 1 second. You're up.
Okay, I'd like to start this meeting of the Community Relations Commission with a Pledge of Allegiance. All rise. There it is.
It's right there.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, gang, I'd like to take a moment of silence, quiet prayer for our former member, Talon Floor, who passed away recently. We all knew and loved him, and he did a great deal for this community. So if we would take a moment of silence for Talon, it'd be greatly appreciated. All right, I thank you. Mackenzie, are you going to do the roll call or should I?
Absolutely, I'll do it, Mr. Harris. Mr. Anthony Harris.
Here.
Ms. Cruz.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Sutphin.
Here.
Ms. Esposito.
Here.
Ms. Cade.
Present.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Blake Harris.
Here.
Okay. Guess we have enough of a quorum to get started. I'd like to find out if anybody, the approval of the minutes from April 29th of 2021. Has everybody read the minutes? Is there any discussion needed for this? And if not, then I'd like a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes for approval as written.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I guess the first order of business is we had a discussion with the ECEDC, Erie County Economic Development Committee, with Abby Bemis, who is the executive director, and Blake. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to discuss? I have a few things that I talked to Abby about, but is there anything, Blake, you have to present to us from the Erie County Economic Development Committee?
I know that, actually for the last several months, I've had the pleasure of working with Abby as well as Sarah Ross, Jarvis Cole, who, as many of us know, is he teaches the business administration program at Sandusky High. And then we've also worked closely with a good friend of mine, Spencer Patterson, who is who co-owns Fancy Me Boutique with his wife, Amber. So I'm trying to think, when did we begin meeting? Do you know off the top? Anyhow, it's been actually, so it was last summer the conversations had began. And so through those conversations, we ended up starting that of a grassroots collaborative, if you would, called MBET, which actually stands for Minority Business Empowerment Team. And so what we've began to do over those several months is compile what I would probably would say is becoming a pretty, solid list of many of the minority businesses here in the city. And we've really made contact with many of the businesses. And I know personally, I've had the pleasure of, sending many aspiring and or current business owners to Abby and Sarah over there at ECADEC. And they have just done a tremendous job in assisting, these individuals. Heck, whether that would be, just with guidance in more ways than one. But what we're really looking to do is just serve as a resource for many of these, individuals, again, who are either current business owners and or aspiring business owners, and let them know that there is that support and that network for them, because because we understand that there are so many hurdles and so many barriers, and this guidance and these certain resources and things could go a long way for many of them. So, but I'll turn things over to Abby, and because I know you could probably also speak to, I can't recall the number offhand, but I know you and Sarah just mentioned how you've seen a spike in minorities coming through the doors there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So just stepping back a little from our perspective as the Economic Development Corporation, I've had a chance to meet many of you. Some of you have heard our pitch, I'm sure, at annual city updates, but just as a background, when we talk about economic development, we talk about wanting to drive investment in a community, the fundamental belief being that jobs and investment create a better quality of life for a community. That's sort of what economic development is all about. But I think at a national and international level, what we've come to realize in this whole theory of trickle-down economics is that it doesn't always work to just drive investment. That wealth tends to be concentrated where it was before for decades. And so when we were looking at our organization and who we serve and how we want to drive investment in a community, we can look at numbers and see that despite our community's population being about 17% minorities, business ownership of minority-owned firms is only about 10%. So we really wanted to approach that issue with some intentionality. And that's where contact with Blake and Jarvis and Spencer has been huge. They also see and experience that in the community and wanted to do something about it. So when he says grassroots, he's absolutely right. We just sort of got around a table and started talking about what do we do to sort of correct those numbers? How do we drive more interest in entrepreneurship in the minority community? How do we support them? Are there barriers to people being successful there? So we've been doing a lot of listening, we've been doing a lot of brainstorming, and we're just getting started, but we run a program at our office called RISE that helps counsel entrepreneurs, and that's been a big part of the MBET infrastructure. So if you meet an entrepreneur, you can connect them to our programs, and they're free of charge to help people put good business practices around an idea they might have, an existing business that's running into challenges and wants connection to resources or mentorship. We can assist with that. So it's been huge connecting with Blake and team. We've definitely seen a spike in the diversity of entrepreneurs that we're serving, the community. We launched a Facebook page for MBET, and in our company page, we've existed for 30 years. We have 1,000 Facebook followers.
Yeah,
and
we're
that
almost
launched,
at 800.
We have 800 in 5 months. So there's a real energy there, and I think it comes from people wanting to support members of the community and wanting to start businesses themselves. So that's what that organization is all about.
And would you like to speak to about those grants that were issued?
Yeah. So again, when looking at numbers and things that are impacting the success of minority-owned businesses, you all can probably guess the thing that comes up most often first, and this is true of all entrepreneurs, to be honest, is access to capital. So most people start a business, despite thinking that you can go to the bank and get a loan for it or get a grant to start your business. Most people start your business based on friends and family money. And so access to capital is really important, and that's part of the reason that this difference in income inequality continues in communities across the nation. So at our organization, we've been looking at that issue. We had an opportunity several times last year to deliver support to the community in terms of COVID response. We have a partnership with several local foundations that are interested in supporting entrepreneurship. So we're really pleased with that program. And actually, I'm forgetting that Alex is online. I can't see the screens, but Alex was actually a member of our committee. So when we had this last opportunity to deliver financial support for COVID relief, we again looked at the numbers, and nationally, Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, just in terms of business closures, revenue loss. Part of that's density of place. Part of that might be childcare and family support requirements. There's a lot to it, but we know that that community needed help. So when this foundation approached us willing to do another round of support, we wanted to concentrate our grants on minority-owned companies. And so we are just closing out that grant program. It was $50,000, so 25 $2,000 grants delivered to minority-owned firms in the community, obviously a huge portion of that being in Sandusky. So Alex can talk about sort of the applications and clients that we saw there. She was a member of our review committee. It was a competitive process. But companies had to come forward and explain why they might have been impacted by the pandemic, and then how they were responding. So we definitely at RISE want to work with businesses to help them be sustainable and successful long-term. So what are you going to do to pivot your business? Maybe go online, maybe add curbside delivery. How can our resources financially help you do those things? So that's what the grant program supported to start. One of the things that's coming up that's a next growth step for MBET, when we were leading that grant program, we heard from a lot of businesses that were not open last year. So they weren't impacted by the pandemic, but want to get a business started. So we're going to be launching some programs to help support new business founding and perhaps offer a scholarship to help companies incorporate, so form an LLC or other legal entity for a business.
Well, yeah, as you know, I had steered one individual to you a week or so ago, a minority business owner who actually is reopening a Sandusky landmark in Dairy for us, to get information about how he can pursue grants and monies to help him solidify his economic base here. But I've also, and you mentioned it earlier about childcare, I've also been approached by a group of teachers, and that from Cuyahoga County, that are interested in starting a special education daycare for children 5 to 12 in Erie County that would cater to autistic and other kids with special needs in a daycare scenario, and are very interested in starting something in Erie County. They're in the process now. I just talked to them the other day. They're in the process of trying to get their business plan together so they can present it to you to see if it's a viable entity, that's something that you can help them with in establishing that. Now it's a minority-owned business, but like I say, they have the staffing required and everything. They just want to get the foundation of what can happen here and like the facilities for them to operate and things like that in Erie County. I told them I would help them try to locate facilities and things like that, but I also want to get their plan from them so that I can present it to you and you could take a comprehensive look at what they're trying to do and how you could help them with that, because I think something like that kind of a special ed daycare would benefit the county and surrounding area greatly.
Yeah, I completely agree. So one of the things that we do at our office, in addition to serving entrepreneurs, is we work on workforce development, namely because when a company is looking to invest, they want to know that there's available quality talent to support their company and vice versa. So we have an initiative called Firelands Forward that focuses on workforce development. And when we've been analyzing the labor market and what prevents people from being successful, childcare and transportation and the things that I'm sure would come to all of your minds is a huge part of that. So there's definitely a need for quality childcare in the community.
Okay.
Yeah, and lastly, I think it's okay to to let this panel know that we'll actually be hosting a networking night, if you would, This will be kind of our first, actually, this will be our first event on, at Small City Tap House on Friday, June 25th. And that'll begin, at 6:30. The doors will open, and then the event will begin at 7 o'clock, so.
That's the Minority Business Empowerment Team.
Correct. Yes.
Blake, perfect timing. Invites arrived to our office today.
Look at that. Look at God.
Good to just share. We'll have this online. I think you guys are getting the
Yes.
first invites.
Yeah.
So I do have some questions for Abby.
Please. And I would love to hear what we should be thinking about.
Yeah, so.
Thanks, Ed.
So you are part of the Economic Development Corporation,
Yes.
and you work for the city of Sandusky, or you're a private entity, a nonprofit, or?
Private nonprofit. We work very closely with the city's development team, but we are a private nonprofit that covers all of Erie County.
Okay. And so you focus on, right now, you have a push to drive supports for minority businesses. Is there another duplicate effort for women business owners? And what is your actual niche? Because I'll have to look you up, I'm not.
So the women business owners, that's been an interesting discussion around the end at table. What do we mean when we say a minority-owned business? And certainly, women-owned companies are also not where we would like them to be. And women in leadership roles across the county is another thing that we observe as not being where we would like it to be representative of our community. So when we talk about minority-owned businesses, we're generally including both women and
Race, religion, just different underrepresented groups.
underrepresented
Yeah.
groups is
Sexual
a great way.
orientation, you know.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha, all
Yes.
right. And your services are free for helping people get started with launching their businesses and giving them feedback, and you also have grants that you provide?
So
Now, let me ask you, she says grants. You don't provide the grants specifically. You steer people to the entities that can provide these grants, the government entities or whatever?
yeah, so historically, we have very much as an organization been a connector. So we help people access resources at a local, regional, and state level. Some of those being grants. So a lot of times we're actually referring people back to the city of Sandusky, the economic development programs that the city has to support small business owners are truly unique, truly beneficial to the region. So we just, because we're engaging with people on their strategic planning for their business, we can help them think about what do they want to put in an application? How do they structure that well? So we do a ton of referrals. That said, last year we did administer a number of grants through our office that came to us targeting COVID relief dollars. So some of that is going to continue into 2021, but we do try to let people know that when they call our office, a lot of the times it's to get financial resources. So that introduction of, well, I can't write you a check tomorrow, but I can really help you think about why you need a check, how you could approach your business in a way that you don't need crowdfunding, how you sort of grow organically to get there, because grants really are very hard to come by, despite like commercials that you see. And honestly, Sandusky's programs are the only one in the county that offer small business support. And really, they're some of the only programs grant-based that I've seen in the whole state. So it's a real competitive edge for you.
Thank you. I'll just get your contact information before I leave. if you have-
Yeah, I have handouts galore.
Oh, good.
So I didn't know what we would cover today. One of the ones that's titled here is 7 reasons why you might want to call our office. So it sort of goes through who and when we're interacting with the company. So either when they're getting started, or the other thing that we haven't really talked about tonight as background for us Rise and serving entrepreneurs is one facet of our work. Workforce development is another. But we also work with larger businesses in the community and do a lot of business attraction work. So, we will work with Sandusky Packaging on a machinery and equipment purchase. We will do the site selection and attraction of companies like Ardagh, who are operating now out of the former IAC facility in Huron. So huge, that's a $411 million manufacturing plant. So we really do run the gamut of client base, but this goes through times when people should be thinking about an economic development office.
And which brings me, I don't mean to cut this discussion short, but it kind of leads me into the next topic we talked about the register and the community bulletin board. Speaking of situations where we need to present these things and these resources to the public in a manner that people can see it, not just hopefully somebody tunes into YouTube and listens to our meeting, but there's something that the 24th event that you're having, things like this, things that need to be publicized so that the public can see it. And if they have any questions, reach out to us for further verification, or is this really going to happen? Is this agency really here? Do they really help you? Or is this just another thing of lip service? And I think that I don't think that the Register is doing enough to help us get these messages out to the people. And you said that you knew some people at the Register and things like that. And those are some of the things that I'm looking at to try to allow people to get this information, to disseminate it to the public so that they can understand that there are resources and things available to assist them in entrepreneurship and things like that.
Yeah.
I will say this, because I do understand, that in regards to the Register, that perhaps it feels that way. But I must say that I believe that the Register has really began to make strides in terms of, just in regards to their write-ups about local, minority businesses. I know the young man, I think he was 18 years old, Kenyon, I believe his name is. But there was a write-up about him, and Andy has reached out to me countless times, just basically just asking, hey, do you know anyone, or who's this that you mentioned on your page? Like, who is this? And I'll tell you what, he's got a story out the next week, and I can actually name a handful of people. Not even always. It's not even always about business, but it's actually just personal stories. He's written a couple personal stories about a couple of my friends, whether that's them, working on specific projects, post them being, released from prison and things. Some awesome stories, and so, again, Andy, Matt Westerhold, they really are, in my opinion, making a tremendous effort to kind of, turn that narrative around. So
To piggyback off of that, I can put you in touch with both of them. They'd probably love to talk to you.
That'd be good. I'd appreciate that.
We'll take care of that. We'll connect you.
I would just
Mr.
like to,
Harris, one neat thing to mention, and I would agree, they would love to hear from you.
Oh, I
We
know
actually
they
went
would.
to them about this grant program.
Ran a full page ad.
They did 4 full-page ads about our grant winners, and they're going to do a story on all 25. So I think they're definitely interested. They need to hear from you, but I think you'll
that's
get
the
a good
article that I was going to
reception.
refer to, right there with the minority business owners. I think that's a good look right there, so I do commend the Register for doing things like that.
and again, as we always know, on all fronts, there's, you can never get complacent, and, there's always room for improvement,
Right.
so.
I'll have Matt reach out to you.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
so I guess a couple of things. They do a thing called Between the Lines, and I think that that might be interesting to have you sit down and interview or talk with them, basically about the Community Relations Commission and what we do here and how you want to be this bridge to the community. So maybe that's something, Jared, that when we are connecting them, that we could ask about.
Yep.
Well, I have no
and
problem sitting down and talking to him about that. That would be the least of my problems.
We'll get you connected.
Yeah.
And I guess the second thing, if you guys have a digital flyer or something, Blake and Abby, for your MBET event, we could share that on the city's Facebook page. We've shared a couple of things from them, but I think we have 13,000 followers or something like that. So just helping get the word out.
Definitely, thank you.
Right.
And yeah, I think we should be pushing that out tomorrow.
Yes, hours away.
Yeah, hours away, yes. So I'll shoot you a text.
Well, my son was recently hired to establish an entrepreneurship program at St. Edward's High School in Cleveland, Ohio, that takes students that are interested in entrepreneurship, not just from the standpoint of I'm going to college and I'm going to do this, or I'm going to get financing from my parents or whatever, but to show kids how to come through the system, educational system, and whether you have a college degree or not, there are things out there, businesses that can be started without that degree type of situation. Tech, HVAC, things like that. In order to help them, guide them along the path to begin the process of entrepreneurship, which is something that's beneficial for community. And I know that Sandusky school systems, everybody's not going to college, but there are things out there that can be started and established, and people don't know how to do it. And these are the things that I think your committee or commission can help do to establish the idea within the community that there are things that you don't have to have a master's or a doctorate to start helping the community, benefiting the community with businesses or things that can just, in general, be an asset to the community. And I think that these are some of the things that we have to convey to the public, that you don't just have to sit on your thumbs and hope somebody does something. Get out there and do something yourself.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad you bring that up because actually one of our members, if you would, that sits in with us, and heck, I think she's been in on nearly every meeting, is actually Brandy Bennett, the Global Internship Coordinator at Sandusky High. And, you touch on one thing that is actually one of our many goals that comes out of this, and we actually spoke to it at our last meeting earlier this week, is that we hope to sort of begin that pipeline and begin connecting some of her students with other entrepreneurs or minority entrepreneurs here within the community. So and again, just to create that pipeline so they can sort of get a firsthand look of what it looks like and what it takes to to pursue a particular endeavor. So
Blake,
I'm
on
glad
that
you
note,
bring that up.
if I could add something about that, something that we were talking about at our last NAACP meeting was apprenticeships. We would like to have some type of pipeline, and I would like to run this by Dr. Cade as well. Like when kids are in school, that they can start some type of apprenticeship jobs, in the skilled trades, where they could, almost finishing high school in their junior, senior year, start an apprenticeship program, and then go into these area of business in the skilled trade field, not necessarily in just an entry-level job opening, but more of a skilled trade. So that's the thing that we would like to see our young people start getting that in high school, start getting those foundations set up in high school, making those relations in high school with the businesses, and moving to apprenticeship and a skilled trade type of job skill level. So what about that area? The lady that you mentioned?
We
from
do
the
have those
school?
opportunities, and Ms. Bennett oversees those opportunities. We have welding programs. We have all kinds of programs that lead to career pathways for students.
Okay.
And one of the pivotal pieces of her work really centers around providing internships for kids that lead to long-term commitments. We have partnerships with businesses.
That's the key.
Yeah, so that's what she's cultivating, those opportunities. And through the new Global Education Center that the Sandusky Rotary Club supported, we're just tying a lot of those pieces together. So there are a lot of career pathway opportunities that are apprenticeship, like welding, that we have barbers, school, cosmetology. There's a lot of programs that our kids at Sandusky High School have. I don't know if the information is, maybe it's our communication, maybe we can improve on our communication. Through our 2030, Envisioning 2030 plan, we just did a real hard look at our innovative programs, but we're constantly cultivating those comprehensive programs.
I guess what I'm kind of concerned is I don't really see the young men and women going into those skilled trade jobs. I know we have always had the cosmetology, and we've always had the welding, and we've had those opportunities in the high school, but what I'm concerned about is actually putting people in those jobs. I don't see the transformation where the kids come out of high school and they're going to start at a business in a skilled trade apprentice job. I just don't see that connection, and I don't see the numbers. If somebody could maybe give me the numbers where, hey, we got 10 kids that's in an apprentice program, and they're starting at Stein, and they're going into apprentice job, into welding, into pipe fitting.
And you're speaking.
We could probably get that information. I don't.
Speaking about Stein, Stein does have an apprenticeship program. I think what is it, JBS now? They're not Stein any longer.
JBT.
Pardon?
JBT.
JBT, where they do have an apprentice welding program that they bring people in, and it's like Chief and I were talking about. The thing about it is, it's people applying for these jobs and going in and apply for those jobs. They look at it and they think, man, I don't want to be in this factory pushing widgets 8 hours a day. They don't understand the means to an end. You have to look at the big picture. We've got to educate them to the big picture, not just what's right in front of them. But they get an entry-level position at JBT, and in that entry-level position, they can go and gravitate toward JBT says, hey, we need welders. Would you be interested in learning the welding trade? Sure, you're working on the line right now, but transition to the welding. You have to get your foot in the door. We have people that are sitting there crying for people to come to do those things, but nobody wants to understand. You've got to take baby steps before you can take the big leap. And that's what we have to get to people. You have to get in the door. Get in the door as a qualified individual.
I understand that, Mr. Harris, but what I'm saying is that too many of our minority kids, students, don't have those opportunities that they can go from apprentices program in high school and go right into a job in apprentice. That's what I'm referring to. I'm not saying far as like you go in and you work your way up.
But I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, I'm asking you is, are you saying they're expecting the high school to provide those jobs for them? Are they looking at a situation like, do a little research, find out what companies are doing these things, apply for those jobs, and then move into their programs like that?
No, that's not what I'm saying is.
He's saying that he has an expectation that the school district will establish those pipelines for our kids, and that's what he wants data on, how many of our students from the welding program are actually ending up in the welding field. How many have apprenticeships and they become welders when they leave the high school.
That's
and if
correct.
we have other jobs that are, straight to career that require apprentices, maybe electricians, whatever.
Electricians, yes.
Positions like that. So I'm sending Dr. Sturgill an email right now and connecting you both.
Okay.
And you can follow up with him.
Thank you.
Is there a way to invite the global intern coordinator here?
Oh, yeah, we can invite
Oh, yeah,
her.
she'd be more than
And
happy.
I'll
those
copy her on this.
Questions can be more directed. We can all find
I'll
out
just
something
put Anthony Harris on this, so, let me see.
If I might add to that conversation, so this was actually a topic that came up in our office today. We're working with Certainteed, a manufacturer on 250. They do roofing shingles. They have set goals themselves to try to increase the diversity of their workforce. And so they reached out to our office to take a look at the numbers. within the production space in our county, what does that population look like, and does it look like our community? And you're right, we don't have diverse candidates entering that field. It's a problem across the board, and I do agree with all these themes of mentorship being important, but we actually just went out with Sandusky City Schools to Becher Industries last week, I think, to talk about adding a couple career tech programs there. So I would agree, definitely interested, and a lot more to do to build those bridges.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Oh my gosh, my thing's frozen.
Do I have anything further on this topic that needs to be broached? If not, we'll move along.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you for having
Yes,
me.
thank you.
Great idea, Blake.
And you said some handouts for us with some information
Yeah, 'cause
for
I
us.
will be in
'Cause I
touch.
definitely would love to have that.
Handout.
You know what I'm saying?
Tons,
Yummy, yummy.
what to give you.
Gimme, gimme, gimme.
Here's a good one on when to call us.
Anthony, what's your email?
Pardon?
What's your email? Thank you so much.
DAHAK
DAHAK.
1329
Okay, thank
at
you.
bex.net.
Oh, Lord, BEX.net.
10 copies
Let's
of
see if
this,
it'll
but it
show
sounds
up.
like a
DA.
good fit for you guys.
Okay, great.
It's about career paths in
Yep, yep.
Northeast Ohio,
Mhm.
and which ones are good income producing tracks, and how do we do with getting diverse candidates there.
Great,
It's
great.
really interesting.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks, Abby.
Have
Mr.
your
Chairman,
contact, your phone number is on here, Abby?
Yes, somebody said something?
I was just going to say I can share Abby's information. And
Okay,
Abby, if you
Mackenzie.
have anything that you'd like to send digitally to them, so like to the members that aren't here, I'm happy to forward that along.
Mackenzie, can you
I will.
get me her email and a telephone number, please? If you send that to me.
Yes, Dr. Kate, I can do that.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Alexandria, did you have something you wanted to interject?
I just want to commend Abby and Sarah Ross. I think they do a really nice job. I know that when I was a part of the team, we did a good job of making sure that we tried to hit the communities that have been most impacted by COVID. I know we were able to do like 75% of those grants to people to businesses owned by people of color, and then the other 25% were women-owned businesses. So I thought that was nice that we were able to hit that benchmark. And I just think Sarah, who manages Rise, does a nice job of reaching out to businesses that are already established. But I think by having these networking events like MBET's event coming up at the end of this month, we'll get the word out there to those who are trying to establish new businesses. So I just wanted to say good job to Abby.
Thank you.
Thank
Likewise, we appreciate your support, and Alex came to us through the Dorn Foundation. So the Dorn Foundation, the Erie County Community Foundation, the Whiteman Weaver Foundation, the Mylander Foundation, they've all been really huge supporters of entrepreneurship in the community. So thank you, Alex, for your work there and the support.
Okay, well, thanks again, Abby, for coming and enlightening us.
Anytime, feel free to enlighten me on what I need to. And I'm sure you hear things in the community that our office needs to, so don't hesitate.
And I want to tell you, Mr. Hunter did say that you helped him immensely with what he's trying to do.
Good. Good luck to him. I'm
Okay.
excited
All
to
right.
see that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby.
Thank you. Next, we have on the agenda an open position on the Community Relations Commission. And how are we going to address that? I know it's a commission-appointed position. Has there been any progress made in that area?
Yeah, I mean, it is, for whatever reason, I know personally it seems as if there's individuals who, I'll just say it, who claim to be interested at one time or another, but for whatever reason, they're just hesitant to actually take the action and step forward, which I won't dive too deep into that, but it's just, and in some ways, I've realized that there's a lot of talk and little action.
Little walk.
Yeah. So, But I mean, that doesn't mean that we certainly can't continue to make the effort to not only try to fill this seat, but fill other vacancies that might be coming up in the next several months or years ahead. So to try to, get these boards that, or have these boards reflect, where we'd like to think that we're headed as a community. So yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it's, so I know that Dr. Cade mentioned at our last meeting that she would be resigning today at the end of this, before she leaves us here in Sandusky. I don't know if you guys know of interested people and you would like to, ask them to put in an application, because I know the commission will be looking to quickly fill this. I think I told you over the phone we had a handful of applicants that still were interested from when we did a really big push for it in the fall.
Yes, you did.
So I know that in, June or early July, the commission will be filling Dr. Cade's spot once she moves on. But anybody that of that you might, that might be a good fit, I would just encourage them to apply so that we can continue to have really robust conversations and bring some spice like Dr. Cade did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Spice of life.
Oh. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Moving right along, we have an election of vice chairperson that we need to take care of. And if anybody would like to present a candidate.
I think Dr. Cruz was nominated, but she was not here to accept. I see she's here
Yes.
today.
I made sure she was here to accept her nomination today.
Okay,
Great.
well, let us proceed.
I make a motion to nominate Dr. Valerie Cruz as Vice Chair for the Community Relations Commission.
I second that motion.
Motion has been moved and seconded. First thing I should do is, Dr. Cruz, do you accept the nomination?
I accept. I will stay in that position. Thank you for having some confidence in me, guys. I'm working long hours, but if anybody needs me, I'm just a phone call away.
Very well. Well, the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by the usual method of saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Dr. Cade, congratulations.
Dr. Cruz.
Dr. Cruz, sorry, I get them mixed
Dr.
up.
Cade out of here.
That's that sometimers disease.
Sometimes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll do the best I can, everybody.
Thank you.
Now, is there any new business that anyone would like to bring up for discussion?
Okay, I'll do old business.
I know one thing that the chief and I were discussing before this meeting was the ability for us to recruit new police officers and other people. And I don't know how we can present to the community that you can't start a police officer out at $15 an hour. That's just, unheard of. We're losing people left and right, qualified people, because they'll come through, look at what we do, look at the community, like the community, and then they look at the pay scale. And once the pay scale is hit, they're going to places like Dublin, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, because you could make $13, $15 an hour work at Dollar General, let alone be a police officer and out there risking your life every day for the community. Is there something that anybody knows of that we can do to try to relay that message to, who would you say, the commission, chief?
City manager's office to start with, and then it would go to the commission. Then, just for clarification, the $15 an hour is,
$15?
no, the $15 an hour is reserve officer.
Oh,
A
okay.
full-time certified officer starts out a little bit more than that.
Oh, just-
But it's, the comparative wage scale now is, it's become an issue. Dublin's, the Upper Arlingtons, I mean, those are suburb cities of Columbus, and there's a lot larger scale. What we're seeing in law enforcement right now is is a twofold issue. I mean, obviously, there's been issues in the past that, have taken on different lights now where people really reevaluate what they want to do with their career. Secondly, the candidates that we're really striving to get, minority candidates, we're going to be as inclusive as we can. Rescheduled several different meetings just to try to get some more candidates, just didn't happen. And then it comes down to, we'll have conversations and they took jobs elsewhere because everybody's looking for law enforcement. Our pay scale is probably about average for the area. I'd like it to get it above average because that gets us the better candidates. I mean, that's where we're at. So, and we're struggling to find candidates. We really are. So if anybody has any ideas how to be better, find more, we're all ears. Because I feel like we've tried and tried and tried here.
Yeah.
Again, getting back to the high school, the global internship coordinator, I think representation across all of public service is very underrepresented. So I came from the detention center where pay starts out at $13 an hour. Why work there when you can work at McDonald's? Why inherit, that there's an inherent liability of working at a place or in law enforcement that just doesn't exist anywhere else, You can be sued, you can be criminally liable, you can be forced to go in. So there's a lot of things that, like he said, if we compensate just a little bit more, maybe we get better candidates. But if we could tell the high school kids that are graduating, this is a career, this is a field that you can go into, I'm not sure a lot of them consider it.
Where we lose some things with the high school, and we're in the high schools, and, we'll go and have conversations, our SROs, we try to bridge those gaps daily through our SRO program. Where we lose stuff with the high schools is you're getting out of high school, you graduate in 18, you can't become a law enforcement officer till you're 21.
Yeah.
So you got that 3-year break where they might find something else to do, and you're going to have to, so.
Well, let me ask you a question. To be a full-time officer, you say 21.
To be a sworn certified officer, state of Ohio, yes.
Now, there's nothing that, any leeway from a graduate from high school in the reserve group that you were talking about?
Our reserves are sworn officers.
Okay.
We have court officer openings. We have different job shadowings where we would try to keep that 18-year-old, that 19-year-old. There's spots in corrections. There's spots with probation. There's spots with dispatch. You're keeping them in the public safety realm. You just can't be a certified officer in the state of Ohio. And that is completely out of everybody's control here at Commission. That's the state.
Right.
So.
That being said, I went to Firelands
something-
College for criminal justice, and I went to school with a bunch of kids that were waiting to turn 21 in order to become officers. And none of them were minority candidates from the city of Sandusky.
But like I'm saying, is there something, a pipeline that we could establish or help to establish that will let them transition and keep them in the field in a paying position while they're waiting to turn 21?
Basically, that's what you just said.
That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, it's just where they're going to go be employed at. Sandusky Police Department themselves, probably a court officer, something like that. You can't really have somebody working side by side with a full-time officer, because if an event does happen, then we're putting him or her in a situation where they might not be able to protect themselves because they can't.
Right.
They're not armed. They're not in situations like that. So that's where you try to reel them back, and you keep them interested by dispatching, or you keep them interested by helping out the detention home, corrections in the jail division. And we were constantly striving to do that when I came from the sheriff's office. But let's go right back to what the starting pay is.
Right.
I mean, that's.
But I think that's something that's just not in law enforcement. I think that's just
everywhere.
The nation, everywhere.
Yep.
Everyone is looking for, workers. Everyone's looking for somebody to employ.
And we all want the best.
No problem.
Yep.
Everybody wants the best worker, and
Right.
for a cheaper price. And, it's just a competition. If Cedar Point's going to start paying $20, that's saying something.
Sure is.
So that's saying a lot. Think about that.
And it also says that recently Cedar Point's got their workforce up to the point where they're going to start being open 7 days a week again.
So.
Because that $20 an hour is starting to bring them in.
He's working there.
And Chief,
Hi, Chairman. I can speak to that because I work there. I've been there since March. And yes, that bump it started bringing people in like crazy. We're getting out of state, internationals are coming in. and everybody's even people from Roth Packing is leaving that job coming to Cedar Point for that price bump because they are not getting the wages.
Right, right.
Okay.
And also, Chief, they could even find themselves like in certain security job positions, couldn't they?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Sure. It's just keeping them ultimately interested in becoming a law enforcement officer when you have that gap, okay? What you'll find is most people that get into law enforcement probably grew up wanting to be a law enforcement officer or left an impression on that youth in high school or junior high that drove them to that field. So you're always going to keep them focused, but hey, they got to make a living too.
But that goes back to what you initially said about establishing a pay scale that will allow us to attract the qualified and good candidates, because those are the candidates that are going to leave the impression on the young people that say, hey, I want to be like this guy. I want to get into this.
I don't disagree with you at all, sir. I mean, these are all conversations that I've had with the city manager, with the assistant city manager. We'll continue to have. I mean, we have to do what we can to do to attract the best candidates. How do we attract the best candidates? Well, it's a cost of living. It's what the pay scale is and who they want to be. But the city itself is drawing candidates, and just it drew me. I mean, I left a full-time job. I left a career to come work here because it's a great opportunity. And that's what I'll do as the chief to sell it when I'm talking to candidates. Hey, it got me. I wanted to be here.
Well, maybe Mr. Murphy can underwrite the program.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, next order of business.
Come on over.
All right, any more new business to discuss?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm unsure if this is new or old business, but we had talked about the programming that's coming this summer and involving the Community Relations Commission and how you guys would like to be involved.
Yes.
So we have selected our partner who is going to be helping put on events and, basically signing with bands. And I wondered if some people from this group might want to sit down and meet with him next week. He's available any day but Tuesday. So I didn't know if we wanted to meet like really informally for like coffee and just kind of talk about bands and type of bands that might be a draw for people, and to make our neighborhoods and minorities feel welcome in downtown. But
I would be very interested
to do a coffee or a happy hour, but if we could find a time next week.
I'd be very interested. I don't drink, but coffee's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Mackenzie, I'm interested in attending that as well.
Blake, you gonna go?
Okay.
Yeah, and we've had several conversations. Ken's, please, lock me in. I'll make it happen.
So could we try maybe for Wednesday morning? Does that sound good on everybody's calendars?
Let me take a look.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
After the first event, if the bands aren't satisfactory, then I'll jump on. Correct.
Hey,
Okay.
now.
All right, to right the ship.
You said next Wednesday, that's the 16th?
Yeah.
That'll be fine with me, Mackenzie. You kind of set a time and email me or whatever. And Wednesday's
Would you like to
open.
Set it now. So should we do 8:30 or 9 a.m.? What sounds good to you guys?
Well, I get up at 6, so
Early riser.
whatever time, Blake,
Bed
how
at
about
7.
you? Pardon, what'd you say, Daryl?
I said you go to bed at 7.
No, I go to bed at 12.
Oh, okay.
I go to bed about 8, so there's nothing wrong with going to bed at 7.
Yeah, 8:30 is fine, Ken.
Okay.
And-
I will
and who is this
Wednesday
again?
morning.
The guy.
So it hasn't gone to the city commission yet, but we'd like to do some work behind the scenes because summer is quickly approaching. So it is going to be, or what we'll take to the city commission is Steve Ernst. And I talked to him yesterday, and he has a couple ideas, but we'd also like to hear from you guys and your ideas, so that we can have a good blend, a good mix. And I might invite. I know that I've had a couple conversations with people in the community, Bridget Sanders and a couple others that are also really interested in making sure that we have a good lineup that, you know, feels welcoming and honestly is just fun too. So it's not just tribute bands of, you know, some classic rock bands.
Right.
So I might ask a few others if that's okay with you, Mr. Chairman, but we'll keep the group small so that we can kind of talk.
Right. And again, what was the time and the place?
So I have Wednesday morning at 8:30 for coffee. And I don't know if we want to do like Vita or Mr. Smith, or, I mean, if anybody has a preference.
Just let me know the where and I'll be there.
I just got a
Okay.
Vita coffee. It's pretty good.
A what?
Coffee at Vita before I came in here.
Yeah,
So.
I recommend Vito's right next door.
All right, let's do Vita after Taylor's
How do you spell that?
VITA.
VITA.
Yep, Vita.
It's right here.
Vita Las Vegas.
It's right next door.
Right on the corner.
Right there, the old
I do want
Western Security.
to close out with my little unity of love stuff. I'm so happy for this.
Mackenzie, I just want to say thank you for recognizing that suggestion last week to get more input on the band. So please convey that to the powers that be. So as a community,
Absolutely.
we appreciate that. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay.
Mackenzie, unfortunately, I got an appointment that day, but keep me in the loop on what you guys come up with, please.
Will
Okay.
do.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for the idea.
Okay. So 8:30 next Wednesday at Vita's. Got it. Any old business anyone needs to discuss?
So I did want to just tie up the loose ends on the Unity Through Love campaign and really the push to really build on the legacy of history in this community. When I first came here in 2018, Sandusky was doing, Sandusky's National Association for the Advancement of Colored People was doing a Sandusky First Blacks celebration. And so as Abby was speaking more about the underrepresentation of Black history in our community, there's a rich history, but we haven't, really celebrated it. And women, we talked about this whole Unity Through Love campaign and getting organizations together to support each other and to develop some artifacts for our kids in our communities. And a big part of that is the Sandusky's first poster campaign. So I mocked up, the first mock would be for the organizations that have been a part of this in that booklet, using Dr. Sanders as the first African-American superintendent of the city of Sandusky schools. And then I used Miss Bridget Green Churchwell as the first African-American woman and board president for Sandusky City Schools. My goal was to leave a template for the Community Relations Commission to advance the work, to ensure that when we are gone, that the artifacts exist within this community. And so Chief Oliver and our Mayor, Mr. Wooster, they will post these in the city, and we will post these also in our schools, and any of the organizations that's a part of this, they will get their poster. The idea is to get each organization to nominate somebody, to have somebody that they represent, so that we can develop it, and it's a partnership with the city of Sandusky and the Sandusky City Schools to sort of put this together. I'm just so proud of it. I'm just so happy for it. It's just, it's a soft touch, but, in a time, thanks again, I clap for me.
Job well done, Dr.
Chief. And there's, I have some more of these. Darryl, let me give these to Chief. I'll give you some that's in my car, and Chief Oliver will take these.
Okay.
So, thank you. That's it, it's done. And Pastor Curtis Johnson, I spoke with him in my letter in the booklet. I talk about bringing in the Alliance of Black Ministers We are still going to launch the pledge in January, and he's going to work with you, Anthony, to coordinate that with this committee, so
Okay.
that we can have some kind of unity with moving forward. So that's my legacy that I leave you.
Very nice. Very
Your
nice.
legacy of
Fair
love.
enough.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Oh, I left cards here for you, Alex, and Dr. Cruz and Mackenzie, and Dr. Oliver Chief Oliver has all of the.
Yeah, I'm not that educated, I'm just going to put that on record. Mackenzie, I'm going to leave all this stuff in your office so we can get them handed out and get the boards posted down here.
Okay.
All right, I appreciate it.
Do I have
Well,
to,
thank you, Dr. K.
and
yeah,
Chief.
do I need to write a letter of resignation, or do I just resign? What do you need from me, Mackenzie? Because this will be my last meeting.
I think that what I've seen in the past is just like an email basically saying that this would be your last meeting, if that's okay with you.
Got it. Yep, you'll have that
Yes.
Friday.
Okay.
And we appreciate you, and I appreciate, the time when you were the chairwoman. And so I just wanted to say thank you from myself and the city staff.
Thank you.
More than appreciate,
You're
Dr.
wonderful
K.
to work with, Mackenzie. Thank you.
More than appreciate. And thank you for letting me be on your radio show.
Oh, absolutely.
Any other old business that needs to be discussed? Miss Esposito, you're kind of quiet there. That's not knowing you.
I know. Well, I'm ready for our next in-person meeting, and I'll have some more things to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess under old business as well, our Juneteenth celebration that's going to be taking place next Saturday. I guess there's like 3 or 4 different celebrations happening in the city, but the one that I'm most familiar with will be the one that will be taking place at Battery Park. I believe a lot of different organizations have partnered with that, so we're looking forward to everyone being in attendance for that one.
Yes, most
So,
definitely.
What time is it next?
It starts at 1 o'clock.
Who's coordinating that one, Darius?
That one is coordinated by Ms. Cosetta Poole.
Oh, good.
Cosetta Poole is coordinating that one, and I think Tanya, if I'm not
Frisbee?
correct, if I'm not wrong, has one.
You mean
Tandra?
Tandra?
Tandra, yeah, excuse me, Tandra Frisbee has one at the Jackson Street Pier. Is that correct? I'm not really.
I don't know. I'll find out.
You said
You know
next
Mackenzie?
Saturday? You said next Saturday.
Mackenzie
Next
go-
Saturday,
is
yes,
Mackenzie gone?
June 19th, and it's gonna actually on June 19th.
No, I'm,
Fortunately, I won't be.
I have some information about it in my email, but I
Okay,
haven't read it.
okay,
closely.
well, let's
I
just
can
all
share
focus
that
on the
with you
one right now, the
too.
one at Battery Park.
At 1 o'clock?
And then there's one at Firewell Street, but just quote me on the one at Battery Park at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
From 1 to 4. We'll be setting up about 10 o'clock. It's a lot of different organizations have partnered with that. Let me just
Now, is
pull
it a
that up.
paid event or
It's
is
a
it
free
just-
event. It's a free event.
But vendors are there to sell product?
Yes, there will be some vendors there. Let me just pull this up if I could. It begins at 1, ends at 5.
That's nice.
And I did have some other information. Somebody sent me something before with a different, let me see, excuse me for that. I didn't know I was gonna have to. Yeah, I don't have, but it's a lot of area churches. I know New Jerusalem is involved. Of course, the NAACP is involved. Father's Heart Church is involved. It used to be on 250. It's not, it used to be referred to as New Life.
Yeah.
That pastor is involved as well. A lot of organizations. So we look forward to seeing everyone there.
So there is an event on Jackson Street Pier at the Mylander Pavilion. I believe that one starts at 3:30.
Which one is that?
I think that's through
That's the
Sadusky,
cities.
but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, if it's Mylander, it's probably the city. That's probably the one Tandra's a part of.
Is it? Yeah. Is that on June 19th too, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, at Mylander Plaza. Okay.
The 19th or the 18th?
The 19th is Saturday, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably be the 19th.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, Okay, and that's all, the only announcement that I had. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have any business to discuss or things to bring up? In that case, we know that our next meeting will be September 8th of 2021. And if somebody has something that they need to address before that, please reach out through the email to Mackenzie so she can disseminate the information to all of us. And if there's nothing else,
Make a motion to adjourn.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion for adjournment.
I second that.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.